As we have mentioned, there is power in public speaking. There is an obligation, thus, to do so with ethics and to understand words are power. So what we want to talk about today is the ethics of public speaking, plagiarism, and the guidelines that drive us towards ethical approach to public speaking. Ethics of public speaking, the importance of ethics. Now, we've barely talked about ethos, pathos, and logos. Once again, going back, ethos is our credibility. If we misrepresent that credibility, it's unethical. Logic. Logic is how we craft some of our messages and how we are persuasive. If we use faulty logic, that becomes unethical. And pathos. Pathos is emotions. Emotions that we create in our audience, that we share. If we share negative emotions and we create anger and hostility, that is unethical within public speaking. If you seek to manipulate your audience, cause them to be depressed, have paranoia, those things lead to unethical speeches. It is the same as yelling fire in a theater. You don't do that. And for this reason, it's important that we examine ethics within public speaking and understand the overall impact that it does have. The best way to ensure ethics, have ethical goals. If you go out there with the intention of blessing your audience, enhancing their lives, improving their world, making them happy, those are all ethical goals that lead to more ethical outcomes. If your initial goal is to manipulate them and deceive them, your speech can't be ethical. So goals is the first aspect of ethics. Be prepared for each speech. In other words, you do your audience analysis. Reflect upon what message you're sharing. Know what your goal is. By doing these things, you become more ethical as a speaker. Unprepared speakers have a tendency to kind of wing it, throw stuff out there, not sure if the facts are straight, not sure if the logic is sound, not sure of what their goal is. Those all lead to faulty assumptions that lead to faulty ethics. Be honest in what you say. Now, oddly enough, honesty does come after your goal, because if you have an unethical goal, you're going to be unethical. You can be partially honest and still be completely unethical. So honesty is important. If you're telling your audience something, make sure it's true. Make sure it's factual. Make sure it follows logic. Avoid abusive language. Don't stereotype. Don't feed anger. And don't create division in your audience. If you avoid those things, your speech is going to be much more ethical. And the impact of it is going to be even greater for your audience. Now, we have mentioned Aristotle, we have mentioned Plato, we have mentioned Socrates as the great fathers of communication, of philosophy, of rhetoric. Now, when we look at this, it is easy just to assume everything they taught was great and good. However, Aristotle actually gave the basis for over 2,000 years of slavery, because they felt the only people that were reasonable were the Greeks, and because only Greeks were reasonable, they were the only person or people that had humanity, and everyone else was a barbarian, and as a barbarian they did not deserve the same ranking. They dehumanized others. And if you dehumanize them, how you treat them becomes unimportant. And Aristotle actually felt this way. And his argument was that because they were less than Greeks, slavery was okay. And that is something that actually was the basis for slavery for thousands of years. So realize, even in history, ethical failures do have consequences. Plagiarism. Plagiarism is something that students have a tendency to fall into. Not always purposely, sometimes accidentally, sometimes very purposely. However, plagiarism can result in many bad things. And plagiarism is basically taking someone else's idea and presenting it as your own without giving credit to the person. Oftentimes, someone will do this in a class. They will borrow a speech, they'll look up a speech topic and just copy it and change a few words, and they think, oh yeah, this will be an awesome way to do my speech. That's plagiarism. What you have to do is give credit. If you're taking an idea from someone, credit them. Give credit for quotes, give credit for ideas and concepts. In other words, don't plagiarize, because if you plagiarize, you're violating your code, your student code, and that could end up with a best case scenario, a bad grade. A worst case scenario, you're out of the school. So it's never worth it. There are several forms of plagiarism that can occur. Patchwork plagiarism, where you're piecing ideas from different people together and you're just kind of throwing them in and you don't give credit. It's very simple. Give credit. Okay, this idea comes from, boom. It doesn't make your speech less successful. It actually helps increase your ethos and your honesty and all those wonderful things. It helps. When you fail to give credit to the author of an idea, a concept, etc., this becomes incremental plagiarism, where you've borrowed it, but you didn't cite it. Citing is going to be important. That will occur in a requirement in several speeches where you give proper citation. You can paraphrase, but even in paraphrasing, where you've adjusted the wording of it, you still need to give credit for the idea. Plagiarism and the internet. If you're going online, you can cite the source in multiple ways. You'll give an in-text citation where you say, this idea is according to the National Heart Association, etc. Or, well, in addition to, you also will give a citation page at the end where you APA cite them. So you give an in-text citation just as if you're writing a paper, and at the end you'll have your references where you reference and you give those again. Guidelines for listening. There is ethical listening as well as ethical presentations. And as an audience member, you need to remember that you have to listen ethically in order to truly have communication or interaction with the speaker. Be courteous and attentive. Don't be on your cell phone. Don't be making distractions. Give your attention to the speaker. Don't prejudge the speaker. Don't already have a bias established. Instead, go in with an open mind and allow them to share their thoughts. You don't have to agree. It's just a case of at least hear them out. Maintain free and open expression of ideas. In other words, as they're expressing your feedback, you can ask questions, you can interact with them, you can exchange ideas that enhance the interaction between audience and speaker, and this all helps increase the ethical approach to the speech itself. What we want to talk about in this short review, this is going to be one of your shortest reviews, is the ethics of public speaking. Understand, plagiarism will get you kicked out of the college. Plagiarism destroys careers. It is best to learn now how to properly cite and reference ideas and concepts that you will use in presenting. And by doing that, you can avoid the plagiarism aspect. And then the guidelines for ethical listening as well has the free flow of information, so that way your speaker is able to bless you with ideas, and as the speaker, you're able to share your travels, your ideas, your concepts with your audience. Again, let me know if you have any questions. We're going to talk about other aspects throughout the semester, especially when we get to persuasive speaking, because that's where ethics oftentimes comes in.